All right. Welcome back to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. It is 5 a.m. exactly. 322, March 22nd, 2026. Some skull and bones numbers. I ain't gonna lie, I wonder if something weird's gonna happen today. Not that I'm trying to will that into existence, but it is 322. It's a little concerning. As far as updates, not much. Just been reading some Dragon Ball Super. I got two of them the other day. They were like five. I went to Half Price Bookstore. I don't know if you guys got them wherever you live, but here in Kentucky we have this chain called Half Price Bookstore, and basically what they do is they take the amount and slash it in half. So I got two Dragon Ball Super manga volumes for the price of one. Basically like $6 each, $5.99, $4.99, something like that. I was like, yeah, I'm getting these because I am a huge fan of Dragon Ball manga, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super. I actually have like a dope ass collection. Not all of them, obviously, but a dope ass collection. That's about it for an update. Just been reading some manga, watching TV. I have a Buy Me a Coffee account set up in the link below. If you donate to the channel, I will snail mail you a sticker. These stickers are from Vistaprint. They're actually really good quality. Waterproof. My wife has one on her coffee cup. I have one on the back of my car. And they're still holding up. So I have bookmarks coming in. When they come in, you'll have the chance of getting a sticker and a bookmark, which will be kind of a limited time thing if you donate to the channel and buy me a coffee. Alright, so we've talked about CERN, Mandela effects, Da Vinci Code, Michael Bygents, angels and demons, hadron colliders, alternate dimensions. We've talked about all this stuff in passing. I've always been super interested in all of those subjects. And this has popped up on my radar recently. This month. CERN. So we already know, if you haven't kept up, CERN is a hadron collider. They are slamming, I think it's slamming atoms together through the Large Hadron Collider. It's in Switzerland. I'm just going to give a little backstory. Back info of like what CERN is. What they were trying to do was basically, essentially, in layman's terms, recreate the Big Bang on a smaller scale and figure out how the world was created. The universe, like reality. And they ended up making dark matter, aka antimatter, which is the opposite of matter. It is literally, essentially, they created, just for a split second, like a black hole, a super tiny antimatter black hole. And by the way, I am not a scientist, so I'm sure if an actual scientist or someone who is like super into CERN and all that, they're probably going to tear me apart in the comment section, but I'm explaining it the best way that I can. So they created antimatter, and I guess they contained it. I didn't know that they were able to contain it. I knew that they had created antimatter probably like a decade ago. They just had it for like a blip of a second. But I didn't realize they had contained it. So this popped up on my radar. They apparently created antimatter, contained it, and they are going to transport it. I'm not sure why. I got a little article pulled up, so we'll learn together. I like to come in with virgin eyes. this is literally, not literally, but essentially the plot to Angels and Demons, the sequel to Da Vinci Code, of where I think it was like essentially like a terrorist. Maybe we'll, if we have time, we'll look into the plot because it's fucking crazy. Like a terrorist uh, somehow got a hold of antimatter created by CERN, and he was going to like release it as a terrorist attack, create a black hole that would literally destroy that area, if not the entire world, in reality as we know it. Um, I love those movies. I've never read the books, but I love Da Vinci Code. I love Angels and Demons. It's good shit. If you're a conspiracy theorist, like, go check them out. I did an episode on Da Vinci Code years ago. I'll link it below if you're listening on Spotify. If not, I might try to find it. If not, if you're listening on YouTube, and I'll try to put it in the Conspiracy Cinema playlist. Anyways, though, it's like legit like the plot. They are moving and transporting antimatter. And you could say like I definitely believe in the theory of predictive programming, that they tell us what they are going to do, or what their plans are, what they're doing currently, through movies, books, television shows. Yeah, they tell us what they're going to do. And the theory is that they have, the elites, the elites, have basically kind of like, I think they're Sabbaty and Frankist. If you really want to know who they are, that's my opinion. I think they're Sabbaty and Frankist. We'll have to do a deep dive on Sabbaty and Frankism one day. It's fucking nuts. It's essentially kind of like Crowley's philosophy of being evil, you know. Disgusting. But supposedly they believe and practice lesser magic, which is essentially like if I say, hey, I'm gonna poke you in the eye, and you just go, you're crazy, Abe, and then I go, ugh, and then poke you in the fucking eye, and you go, ow, why'd you do that? I told you I was gonna do it, and you didn't stop me. You didn't run away. You didn't put your hand up. I'm not joking, you know? And in my psychotic head, if I was an elite, I'm thinking I have no karmic repercussion because I told you. I kind of get it, honestly, in a weird way. Sympathy with the devil. Like, if you tell someone you're going to do something and they're not stopping you, like, do you have karmic repercussion? I don't know. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But, yeah, that's essentially the theory behind predictive programming. Well, there's also the theory, too, that they put in a lot of predictive programming to prepare the population. Yeah, I don't know. It's all fucking nuts. It just, when I heard this, it reminded me, the first thing that popped in my head was Angels and Demons. So, please drive carefully. Scientists plan to transport volatile antimatter for the first time ever. CERN researchers are testing traps capable of moving antimatter, which explodes into energy as soon as it comes into contact with regular matter. I heard it described as, like I said earlier, like a blip. But apparently it explodes into energy if it comes in contact with regular matter. So how are they containing this thing? I don't know. Let's read some more. When the truck pulls away from the building at CERN, the European Particle Physics Laboratory near Geneva, also, a lot of people believe that it's built on top of, actually, I don't even think it's a conspiracy. I think it's actually the fucking truth of that. It's literally built on the grounds of what used to be a temple to Apollo. If you know anything about that, Apollo is aka Apollyon. Which, by the way, I do have an episode planned on Apollo and Apollo worship, because you guys know me, I like to cover lowercase deities, lowercase gods, deities, daemons, jinn. I like to cover entities, you know. Um, and in my opinion, I think Trump is an Apollo worshiper, and we're gonna do a whole rabbit hole episode on that. Let me know in the comments if that's something you would be interested in. But yeah, it's in Geneva. All eyes will be on its precious cargo, a 1-ton device containing some of the most exotic material on Earth. Yeah, I mean, this is otherworldly material, homie. This is antimatter. The 20-minute test run around the campus, penciled in for later this month, will mark the world's first attempt to transport antimatter, a substance so delicate that when it meets normal matter, both are consumed in a burst of pure energy. I've said this before. These elites, these elites, I wish they would stop playing God. I really do. When are we gonna just stop playing God? And I don't mean we as in us. I mean we as in them. It's hard to break those habits of speech sometimes, but when are they going to stop playing God? Like, I've got a whole playlist called Jurassic Park of literally them making chimeras, trying to bring back extinct species. They're trying to block out the sun. We're slamming atoms together to create black holes, aka antimatter, trying to recreate the Big Bang without even knowing what it's going to do. Um, aren't you all like me just tired of them just doing psycho crazy shit? Like when are they just gonna chill for real and stop playing God? I don't know. It's just annoying. To reach this moment has taken years, but if the test goes well, meaning the truck returns with the antimatter intact, it will pave the way for CERN to transport the material to other laboratories. So essentially, they're transporting it just to do a test run to see if they can even transport it. I mean, I get it, the whole trial and error thing, but what happens if this antimatter releases into, is it going to be like the movie Angels and Demons? Spoiler alert, when that dude releases the antimatter, like, it blows up into the sky and it looks fucking scary. Like, I don't know. I just think we should stop playing around with shit that we don't know. Same with like AI and shit. Like, I just wish, like I said just a second ago, like, I wish they would stop playing God. They're gonna one day just unleash Pandora's box by playing around doing this crazy shit. But then there's the mindset of, well, if we don't do it, someone else will. You know, kind of like with AI, which I kind of get that mindset too of like, well, if we don't fuck with AI, China's fucking with it. Israel's fucking with it. We gotta fuck with it too. I mean, I do kind of get that, you know. Nuclear bombs. Well, they got nukes. We gotta make more. In those facilities, researchers will perform precision measurements in the hope of learning why our universe is built from matter and not from these bizarre mirror particles. I would think that would honestly, on an occult, alchemical level, as above, so below, where there is light, there is darkness, there is always an inversion, you know, on an occultic, alchemical level. So if there's matter, there has to be antimatter. If there is light, there is darkness. Yin and yang. A core question we want to understand is, where did matter come from? And then, if you know about antimatter, it's natural to ask, why is that not here? It's probably in another dimension, and you're just opening portals and pulling it from another dimension. The process is not understood, and we are hunting for clues as to why it happened, says Dr. Christian Smora, a physicist of the baryon, anti-baryon symmetry experiment base at CERN. Antimatter, a name that implies an almost ideological opposition to the bedrock of our existence, it's literally, you know what this reminds me of, antimatter? And I don't know, maybe they just didn't have a name for it back then, but there was a German writer, Michael Ende, Ende. He literally wrote the Never-Ending Story. Sorry. I always thought that was weird. His name is Michael Ende, and he wrote the Never-Ending Story, but the main antagonist, I don't even know if you would call it a villain, is this thing called the Nothing. And what it does is it consumes the entire realm of Fantasia. And there's this little boy named Bastion. He has to rename this essentially kind of like a goddess, an empress, the childlike empress of Fantasia, the land of Fantasia. And Fantasia is essentially like all of mankind's, our realm, all of our imagination created this fantastical, beautiful place called Fantasia. It's our fantasies, our imagination. And somehow this entity is the only way to describe it, called the Nothing, gets released within Fantasia. And what it does is it spreads across the land like a miasma. And everything that it touches, it literally turns to nothing. And there's one scene where like Rockbiter, one of the characters, his son gets consumed. His son and his wife get consumed by the Nothing, and he's all alone and he's eating rocks. And the rocks are all hollow because there's nothing inside the rocks. The Nothing got into the rocks. He's a rock biter. He eats rocks. And someone comes up to him. I think it's Atreyu comes up to him and he's like talking to him. And he's like, "Why are you sad?" And he's like, "They took my wife and kid. The Nothing did." And he goes, "Well, what is the Nothing? Was it like blackness?" And he said, "No, blackness would be something. This was nothing." And it's so mind-boggling. I remember watching that as a child, and that's one of my favorite movies. I watch it like at least once or twice a year. I watch Neverending Story. It's fucking awesome. Second one's okay. The third one sucks. Don't even bother with the third one. But do you ever just sit there and try to think, like when you're like about to fall asleep and it's dark? Do you ever just sit there and just try to think about forever, the concept of forever? There's like 2 or 3 concepts that it's hard to like it's impossible, at least I think, for a human being to wrap your head around it. But I used to think, when I was a kid, I used to think about hell sometimes, of like how terrifying it would be to go to hell, because it never ends. And I don't think people understand that, the concept of forever, and why the concept of hell is so terrifying, that it's like forever. You're never getting out. You're just going to burn forever. It never ends. You'll never get a break. You'll never get to go to sleep. You'll never get to die. It literally is forever. Same with the concept of nothing. Because when most people, at least my initial thought of nothing would be just complete darkness. But even darkness, like Rockbiter says, would be something. So the concept of like zero consciousness, it's neither dark nor light. It is literally simply nothing. I guess the only way that you could describe nothing would be like if you've ever been put under with anesthesia. How it's like a blip. There's no darkness, there's no light, there's no dreams. It's literally you get put under for a tooth. I got put under with anesthesia for getting my wisdom teeth removed. And I got put under, and then literally it felt like 5 minutes had went by. And then I just woke up. But there wasn't even blackness. It was literally nothing, you know. It was just the feeling of 5 minutes of time passing, when it had been like 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. Fucking crazy. That's the only way that I imagine dark matter. So, let's get into this again. Where are we at? Bedrock of our existence. It's warmly embraced in science fiction. In Star Trek, it powers the Enterprise's warp drive. I didn't know that. Antimatter and the photon torpedoes. Sorry, I'm geeking out. I didn't know that they actually wrote that into the script of antimatter. So the concept of antimatter has been around. Star Trek was the 70s, so at least since the 70s. In Dan Brown's Angels and Demons, a canister containing 1/4 gram of antimatter is stolen from CERN's in a plot to blow up the Vatican. I didn't read this article, but it's good to know that I'm not fucking batshit. I mean, I'm crazy, but I'm not batshit. Because apparently someone else was on the same wavelength of like, yeah, it's kind of the concept of angels and demons, you know? I just love synchronicities. The reality is reassuringly mundane. Antimatter emitters are readily available at supermarkets in the form of bananas, which emit antiparticles through the radioactive decay of potassium. That's crazy. We could do some like alchemy up in here. Take some old banana peels. I mean, so essentially through the decay of potassium, I mean, you could use a potato too. That's a good source of potassium. It emits radioactive particles, antiparticles of antimatter on a small scale, a super microscopic scale. That's interesting. That's mind-blowing. Sadly, they have limited value for understanding the universe. The device on CERN's truck will carry about 1,000 antimatter particles, weighing about 1/1000th of a trillionth of a gram. So, antimatter has weight, apparently. Interesting. I don't know what to think about that. Should the containment fail and the antimatter make contact with normal matter, the resulting pulse of energy would be so feeble the load doesn't even warrant a radioactive label. How do we know this, though? I mean, because they're literally doing a trial run of transporting it. They never told where, by the way. They just said they're just going to transport it and try to bring it back to CERN to see if it's even able to transport. If they're even able to transport antimatter. I mean, I ain't going to lie to you. I don't really trust these people. For one, they got a Shiva statue out front. Which Shiva is literally the god of destruction. Doing the dance of destruction. There was some leaked footage of a weird mock sacrifice in front of CERN several years ago, probably over a decade now. Do we really trust these people to be telling us, oh, don't worry about it. It's not even, it wouldn't even have big enough of a reaction to have a radioactive label. Don't worry about it, you know. Antimatter was first predicted in 1928, so, okay. It goes back far then. So we were talking about the 70s, the Star Trek. So the concept of antimatter goes back far. 1928. So Michael Ende, the guy who wrote Neverending Stories, could have learned and understood the concept of antimatter back then. Because I think 1928, Neverending Story. Yeah, it had to have been written after 1928. I'm sure. Probably back in like the 50s, I would think. When the physicist Paul Dirac married quantum theory, which describes the behavior of subatomic particles with special relativity, Einstein's theory of space and time, the work earned Dirac, Paul Dirac, it's D-I-R-A-C, I don't know if it's Dirac or Derek, I'm just going to say Dirac, a Nobel Prize, and described a universe in which every particle has a corresponding antiparticle identical but oppositely charged. As above, so below. Inversion. There's always an inversion. You can't have light without darkness. By the way, I love when they bring up, oh, this person earned a Nobel Prize. Usually, I like to think there was like an award ceremony that Obama did one time. Like, it's not the Peace Prize. It's God, I can't remember what they call, but like every person he put this like metal necklace on, metal ribbon necklace. Every person that he awarded it to was like a fucking PDF file, aka a scumbag. Um, and if you notice too, with the Nobel Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, every person that usually accepts one of those, this is just me, but I usually just assume they're a piece of shit because usually everyone who receives these prizes are like fucking scumbags, like Illuminati dog shit, you know? That's just me though. So I love when I read an article and they're like, yeah, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. Like, and it's like, that's not good. That means he's probably an elite, you know? The first antimatter was detected 4 years later. Carl Anderson at the California Institute of Technology spotted what turned out to be an anti-electron, or positron, tearing through an instrument that captured particle showers unleashed by cosmic rays. He too won a Nobel Prize for his work, so another probably scumbag. Scientists have since confirmed the full panoply of antiparticles. Antimatter versions of electrons, protons, and neutrons can assemble into anti-atoms and anti-molecules. In a different universe, anti-planets might be warmed by anti-suns and shimmering anti-galaxies. So literally talking about Bizarro World. Literally describing Bizarro World. If you don't know what Bizarro World is, I'm a comic book nerd. I have a gigantic comic book collection, comics, manga. I've been collecting literally since I was a child, and I still collect to this day. By the time, like, it drives my wife nuts. I have a gigantic chest full of comics. Like, I'm never gonna stop collecting comics, and I will probably never get rid of my comics, you know. I've got a ton. Bizarro World is like in the DC universe. It's like this alternate universe. It's in the Superman storyline. You have Superman and then you have Bizarro Superman. And what it is, it's an alternate universe and everything is the opposite. So instead of the sun, it would be like a dark sun that projects darkness. It would be dark during the day and light during the night. You know what I mean? Up is down, down is up. Everything's inverted. So they are literally describing the occult concept of inversion and alternate reality, Bizarro World. Essentially, it's a whole bunch of scientific gobbledygook, but in layman's terms, they're literally describing Bizarro World. It's fucking nuts. If we were all made of antimatter and lived in a universe made entirely of antimatter, we wouldn't notice any difference. I mean, yeah, because that would be normal to you. Says Dr. Jack Devlin. Ooh, interesting last name. Devlin. Devil. A Royal Society University. That's interesting. Jack Devlin of Royal Society. That's not creepy at all. Research fellow at Imperial College London. What's strange is that somehow the laws of physics allow the existence of this stuff that seems to behave in the same way as normal matter. Yeah, it's a complete inversion, like an exact equal inversion. It sounds like. According to modern models of the universe, equal amounts of matter and antimatter were created in the Big Bang. But what happened next? When matter and antimatter meet, the particles convert directly into energy. So why is the cosmos not sprawling, expansive energy? We seem to have ended up in a universe which is completely overwhelmed with regular matter and has almost no antimatter at all. in it at all. But apparently, we just learned that it can be produced by the decay of potassium, such as a potato and or banana. But it's so small, it's probably not even, it's barely even measurable unless you had some like high-tech equipment that cost $1 million, you know. And that is the heart of the mystery, says Devlin. But there you have it, guys. What do you guys think, man? This is literally the plot of Angels and Demons. CERN is transporting antimatter. Creepy shit, man. I just wish the elites would stop playing God. That would be nice. Maybe we could stop having Mandela effects, and I just don't want them to like be slamming atoms together with large hadron colliders. It would just kind of be nice, you know, if they would just chill. Love y'all. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. If you have any hype points on YouTube, give the video a hype. Pushes me up the algorithm. You get 3 a week. I save mine for smaller content creators because the big ones, they really don't need help. It's us small guys who need help, who are getting the truth out there. Also, a poll came in. I almost forgot. I did an episode, Spotify. If you're a YouTube listener, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. I'm talking to the Spotify listeners right now. Sorry. If you're on Spotify, I put out a poll for every episode. You have the option, and it's all yes or no questions. It's just one question per episode. We covered, it was a Air Force general who worked at, now I'm going to forget, basically this Air Force base that took in the fragments and from the Roswell crash. He got, like, I think, kidnapped. He was tied in with this whole recent alien disclosure files that Trump's doing. The question was, do you guys think that the Men in Black kidnapped him? Now, I ain't gonna lie, I was hamming it up with that poll because I just wanted to have fun, you know, some old school conspiracy, like, was it the Men in Black, you know? And the poll came through, everyone said no. And I agree with you. I don't think it was the Men in Black. It was probably like the CIA, which, is there a difference between the CIA and the Men in Black? You know, I don't know. It's probably like the CIA or like government, some black project or something. The whole thing is weird though. Go check the episode out, but I appreciate you all voting. And if you're listening on Spotify, like I said, every episode I put out a poll. Please fill it out. It helps the algorithm. And plus, I like to hear what you guys think through comment sections and polls, because it lets me know if my finger is on the pulse of conspiracy, if I'm on the right track. You know, sometimes I need to be told if I'm on the right or wrong track. All right. Y'all have a good day.